Welcome to the Bright Ideas Podcast.
You even have companies now out there who are creating, because recently LinkedIn really cracked down on a lot of these LinkedIn automation companies. They were sending, $1,500 a month. Now I think they'll allow maybe like 100 a week to send out LinkedIn automation connections. But now you see a whole bunch of companies spinning out these fake burner LinkedIn connection personas, so they can send out more and more and more. It's just like people are going to find a way to send out more, because there'll always be that market. But the biggest problem is getting into the inbox, managing managing the deliverability, and not running out of the right prospects to sell to, because we've got into such a problem with, I'm just going to mass email outreach everybody and not having any strategy internally. It's unbelievable that how many companies I speak to, because some of our agencies represent some of the biggest companies in the world, and it's still like, I need 10,000 emails and I got to send them out tomorrow. I'm like, it's still crazy to hear these things.
Yeah.
So the big problems that we're getting is getting into the inbox and getting the attention, because we've all been so like mute to another LinkedIn connection or another email. And how do we stand out? And video is another big one that's actually not enough people are doing.
You mentioned earlier at the beginning here that there are platforms that were better at dialing, platforms that were better at data scraping or data providing, and platforms that were better at email management. I guess for those listening that haven't had a chance to go to your website, which is airborneapp.io, can you just give us just that brief summary of, I guess, all of the platforms that you are able to cover? So, is SMS covered? Is Messenger? I guess there's a number of different platforms that my clients use to keep in touch. Email's one of them. SMS is another one. Messenger and SMS compete between my clients because they have a 90+% open rate. LinkedIn is another. And then, frankly, there's other channels as well. And I know that some of the CRMs that my clients use are a hub for all of that communication, so that for a couple of things. Number one, tracking where it came from. And the reason that's relevant is if a client DMs me or a prospect DMs me on Twitter, I'm not going to reply via email. To me, they have positioned what their platform priority or preference is to me, and I'm going to respond to that. So a platform that keeps track of where that communication came from, not only for tracking purposes, but so that I can respond to them via that same platform. So I don't know what yours does and doesn't do, but I guess talk to some of that.
Yeah. So we're very much email first. Phone is a channel. SMS is not done in bulk. It's done manually via task. We don't do any Instagram or Facebook. LinkedIn is a manual step, which we're not going to be doing LinkedIn automation. It's going to be LinkedIn via your Sales Navigator account. So like those manual touches, because we believe in like the ABM approach is way better to go.
I want to jump in and interrupt you there, because you said we're not going to do LinkedIn automation. So one of the things that I've had quite a bit of success with is some level of LinkedIn automation where, for example, if you were doing something manually, so you're going to email, Tom, Dick, and Jane, and they don't know you. Hey, and you've got your well-crafted pitch in that email, versus you can send them a message with high levels of relevancy. For example, you both attended the same event on LinkedIn. Hey, Tom, I noticed that you attended the same thing as me. Clearly, we're both interested in this thing. I'd love to connect with you and chat and, see what opportunities come up. That is very easy to do with automation. And anytime I created campaigns where I would scrape, using one of the tools that's in the marketplace, a list of people who commented on a post or attended an event or responded to a poll, my connection rate was always 60 to 80%. And so people who poo-poo the automation, I don't understand why they would do that, because it's extremely effective.
It is extremely effective. So I'll backtrack here for a second. So the LinkedIn automation, we, again, like everyone else, we're very targeted on our LinkedIn automation, very much like you use. We won't build the LinkedIn automation within our platform.
Got it.
So I will if you want to use LinkedIn automation, there's some great products out there that we'll recommend that you use in conjunction with our product. But as far as our roadmap of where we want to build our product, I don't want to be dependent on LinkedIn cracking us down and spending 6 months of building my product. And then I'm just, that I won't do, because I don't think that it's going to go anywhere. But I know enough vendors and very close vendors that have built LinkedIn automation, and it's like a continuous cycle of rebuilding, retweaking, rejigging every single time. So we're gonna go the approach of, if you want to do a manual touch and send a LinkedIn message via our system, you can do that. But as far as automating like 100 people via LinkedIn is something that we won't do. We'll look to integrate with other providers, but let them deal with the headaches of working with LinkedIn and how they want to, keep them open or keep them closed.
You guys have a Zapier integration?
We do.
Okay. I agree with your assessment of that completely, because platform risk is just such an incredibly significant risk when you build a large code base around LinkedIn or Amazon or whatever, and then you get, I like to say, Amazoned in that they've changed their API, they've changed something, and it literally can destroy you in no time flat. I mean, Apple and the iTunes Store is famous for this with apps, and there's lots of the big companies that have done this to people on many occasions. So I think that's a very wise decision on your part. And how I get around that is I'll stitch together using Zapier best of breed applications. So earlier you'd mentioned, well, how do you avoid double dipping, for example, if you're sending messages on LinkedIn and you're sending messages on email? And if any of that is automated, how do you avoid double dipping? And it's absolutely possible to avoid it if you build your tech stack correctly, because you'll say when you're designing your tech stack, you can say, hey, I want 4 messages to go via this email app into their inbox. And if they reply, great, that's the end, turn the campaign off, and I'll now take the conversation manually. But if after the 4th message, they still haven't replied, wait X days, then send a LinkedIn or connection request. And if they accept the connection request, then send this sequence of messages. I mean, all of that is relatively easy to build. And so if someone decides they want to use, your app, it's just because of the Zapier connection, you could be just a part of that tech stack that helps.
So our workaround for that right now, because again, we don't want to build on top of LinkedIn. So we're building conditions, workflows, triggers in our system, so that way we can create all these conditions based on what happens if there's a LinkedIn request, or if there's a connection, if there's no reply, or even if there is a reply, maybe I want to schedule 3 automated phone calls over a period of 5 days. So we're building that now to kind of work along with some of the LinkedIn integrations out there.
Okay. Stefan, is there anything
I'm curious about things like, so I know I've got clients that have ActiveCampaign as a CRM, for example, and I noticed you're not calling yourself a CRM, but one of the problems, or maybe one of the benefits, but it also is a problem with ActiveCampaign, is it's very, very robust platform. My experience with my clients, and I want to make this delineation, Trent, and that was not
you're fired.
I know that your politics isn't, so that was not a Freudian slip there. I know that Trent's audience is primarily like SaaS founders and SaaS companies, and my clients are more kind of solopreneurs or broker owners of real estate or mortgage businesses or insurance companies, et cetera. But my clients, they find themselves attracted to the robustness of ActiveCampaign, and then they don't implement literally 80%. And I'm sure Salesforce is similar for a lot of companies, where there's a lot of features, but it's overwhelming for the business owner to figure out how to implement those features and build them out. And they can't afford a $25,000 implementation consultant to come in and build it out for them. So talk to me a little bit about what that's like for your clients. Do they have to get additional help? Do you onboard them and help them build out? How does that work?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I'm glad you asked that. So first of all, CRM's a very dirty word. We don't use that around here because people get very confused with CRM and sales engagement and like, where do we start and where do we begin? So we won't get into that today.
Take that for a second. Actually, I think that's good content. Why don't you take a second and like delineate between, if there's confusion in the marketplace, clear that up. Like, look, a CRM ends here and sales engagement starts here.
Yeah. So CRM, we're all very familiar with CRM. CRM is very much pipeline management, like leads, opportunities, customers, even customer success support into certain extent. And it's actively managing a client. A sales engagement system is what you do before you actually get a lead or a prospect or that client. You want to nurture a group of prospects. You want to put them into a cycle where you're getting them into a point where you can actually start conversations. And once you start a conversation, then you move them to a CRM. What we see happen all the time is I need to set up Salesforce. I hear about this almost every day. I need to buy Salesforce. I'm like, tell me about your company. Oh, we just launched, but we're buying Salesforce because, we're going to grow into it. Like, let's take one, like you can go Pipedrive, Copper, HubSpot way before Salesforce.
Yeah.
Streak. Like there's 100 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's not get into the Salesforce thing because again, it's a big beast of a system. So I need to put all my prospects, my 10,000 people that I'm prospecting into Salesforce. And then I'll move them into Airborne and start sending emails. I'm like, junk in, junk out. Like, what are we doing? Why don't you just take those 10,000 people, put them into our system? It will take you 30 minutes to get set up and the email being sent. 30 minutes and under. It'll take you longer to create a template to send out an email from our system.
And is that using so again, I'm going to be representing the dummies out there on this platform. So is that using I'm acme.com? I've got Stefan at acme.com email for my company.
Yes.
I now want to start doing this cold outreach. Did I go to a data provider or did I get that from you? Can I also find people through your platform?
We can help. We work with partners that can help you find data.
Okay, but let's imagine easily. I found it. So I found the data.
Yeah.
I've got
so
my
list of
10,000 people, and I have got, whatever, sales at acme.com is a thing. Or so is all of these emails, I'm using your system, but they are riding off of my existing email server or wherever that may be, whether that's G Suite or Hotmail or whatever.
So you'll have your acme.com email. Maybe you even have 5 burner domains, acme.co, co.com.io. You'll connect them via Gmail or Outlook through our system. Okay. We are sending through Gmail or Outlook, very much like traditional, like all the providers do. You create your step, email, LinkedIn, phone, email, LinkedIn, whatever it may be over a period of amount of days. As long as it's going to take you to build those steps, which is probably going to be a copy and paste that you've already created, and then you import that list, will take you 2 seconds. Emails will start sending out within 30 minutes. So up and running really, really quick. Going back to the marketing automation, a lot of people, I hear the same thing too. I use MailChimp to send my cold emails. MailChimp and all these other systems, they have their place in the market. The place in the market is newsletters. And that's it. That's where I leave and start this conversation. If you're sending a newsletter to an opted-in group, use MailChimp. If you're looking to book meetings, generate revenue with people that you don't know, use a sales engagement system.